please also consider the information that is in the description on this video today and all my other videos as to how you can support me on the channel. I'd really appreciate that. All right, so first of all, I want to say there's just a crazy amount of stuff that's going on all over YouTube and in blogs about the latest edition of D&D called 1D&D and talks about 5th edition and even some murmurs about Pathfinder 2nd edition in relation to the idea of issues with present day culture. I am not a controversy channel. I'm just a covering an old school gaming channel from my humble gaming opinions of over 40 plus years of being in the hobby and doing that with my friends and others at conventions and in other places and in other ways. But I want to share something with you that I think is incredibly significant, that's not controversial, but it stems all the way back from this issue of Dragon Magazine. It's number 3. It's volume 1, number 3, from October of 1976, written by the editor Timothy Kask, or Tim Kask, as we all know him. And he's still on YouTube putting out some stuff out there, so you might want to check that out. I can't approve of all of it because it's not G-rated, and as you know, I'm a G-rated guy. That's my whole entire channel, and so I stay strictly that way, so I don't watch a whole lot of his content, but it is out there available for you if that's your thing and that's what you want to do. He's still an old school guy from way, way back in the origins of Dungeons & Dragons, that you can still pick up his channel and listen to that kind of thing. But he writes in this article something that's incredibly significant, and here's the thing. If you don't know this, and I hope you do, and I'm sure all my audience does, but if you don't know this, Dungeons & Dragons is a game, and it is a hobby, and it is fantasy. There's zero reason to bring real world into fantasy. Your problems that you got going on in your life, let's play and have fun and put that aside while we're at the table. Let's just roll some dice and have some fun, okay? Let's not bring in all kinds of socio-political, cultural context and dialogue and messes of that kind of stuff. It just ruins the entire game for everybody, and it ruins the hobby for other people in general. And I would advise you, as I'm trying to do in my life as well, turn that stuff off, okay? Just find some good content of some people that are putting out some stuff, just talking about some old school stuff and just talking about fun stuff in the hobby, unique ideas, creativity in the hobby, and leave it at that, man. Leave that other stuff alone. And here's why I say that. This is from Dragon Rumbles in this issue number 3. And he says this: someone once said that all you needed to play fantasy games was a willing suspension of disbelief. This philosophy goes far to succinctly sum up fantasy gaming, but only on the surface. What is most essential is an active imagination. Without one, there can be no fantasy. Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary, 1975 edition, defines fantasy as fancy, the free play of creative imagination, a creation of imaginative faculty, It defines imagination as the act or power of forming a mental image of something not present to the senses or never before wholly perceived in reality. Okay? Notice that you're fanciful. You're creating something out of your imaginative faculty. It's not reality. Okay? That's important. All right? Can the game have some verisimilitude to things in reality and how those things work? Absolutely. But it isn't reality. So don't make it that, and don't make it about that. That's important. Okay? He goes on to say, as is obvious from the above, the two are integrally connected. The dictionary goes even further into the fact that because it credits imagination, fancy, and fantasy with a shared meaning element, the power to form mental images of things not before one. To ask a bushman of the Kalahari to describe a clipper ship would be folly. Even if you told him how it worked and what its purpose was, he wouldn't be able to describe anything that you would recognize as a clipper ship. He would be able to describe it only in terms of or comparisons to things he knows. Even the concept of an ocean would be unbelievable to him. As the preceding example illustrates, imagination is dependent upon background, at least in terms of visualization. To a 14th century Amerindian, a ship that sailed from the east coast of North America to Europe was just as fantastic as a ship that sailed to the specks of light in the night sky. Everything we perceive is subconsciously compared to what we have seen before. All these points have been made in defense of watching fiction within the pages of The Dragon. The complaints have not been numerous by any means, but most are marked by their vociferousness and vehemence. All the games we play are fiction. Historical battles are historical fiction at best. I include fiction in his other magazine, TD, so that the reader's fictions will be better, fuller, more complete, and better founded. Some of the fantasy campaigns now extant rely entirely upon the work of one author or are centered around only one cycle or mythos. If that suits you, fine. As for myself, I'd rather play in a campaign that blends many cycles, mythos, and authors' works. It seems to have a richer flavor. Subconsciously or consciously, every bit of fantasy, science fiction, or sword and sorcery you have read has contributed to how you perceive and deal with fantasy gaming. Even if you read a concept that you vehemently or violently dislike, it has affected your perception of gaming. Chances are you will overreact in the opposite direction. The more concepts you explore, regardless of whether you agree with or accept them or not, the more raw material you have for your own imagining process. Okay, so there's some things in here that I kind of take a slight opposition to, and I won't go into that. But nonetheless, he maintains the fact that fiction and fantasy are fiction and fantasy. They are not reality. Our reality might color our fiction or our fantasy because of the fiction that we have imbibed, or whether visually or auditorially or whatever other means. But that only informs the way in which you view the fantasy that you are participating in or running, okay? But you don't bring that, and that colors everything. That's just your starting background to perception. But if you're not running the game, you are to rely upon the dungeon master and their background in fiction that they bring to the fantasy table, where you might share that with one another as the DM arbitrates and runs the game, and you participate in their background of fiction that they bring to the fantasy. Okay? Not their own personal, political, socio-economic, cultural background that they impose upon the game. It is fantasy, it is fiction, it should remain as that and that alone. Aren't you there to just have fun and roll some dice and set that other stuff aside? That is why forced inclusion of things is never going to work in gaming, because it's not supposed to be about that. You are included when you express a desire to want to come and be a part at the table with everyone else together, collectively rolling dice and having fun. It is I hate the word, but it is true. It is a social contract between the rest of you players around the table that you agree, and I like that word better, that you agree to come together to have fun fantasy gaming at the table, and that's it. Everything else stays at the door when you come into the room. When you're in breaks, leave the room, and you might go discuss those things, but then you leave that outside and you come back, and when you enter the door, it's back to the table, rolling the dice and having fun. That junk stays where it is out there, and it doesn't come into there. Are you carrying that around in your mind and your heart? Probably. But don't bring that to the table. And Dungeon Masters, don't bring that to the table and put that on your players either. There's no place for that. If all of you around the table agree that you want to go there and talk about that, okay, fine. You play that way. It's your table. You play however you want, okay? And you play whatever the system you want. I understand that. I ain't into that new modern stuff, but I do run that modern stuff for my wife and my kids. I love them to death. I love that they're gaming with me, so I run the modern stuff. Is it my thing? Not at all. I like the old stuff, and you know that from my channel. I just wanted to stop and talk about that for just a second here, because I think it's really important. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting really, really sick and tired of seeing all these videos about all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying that a lot of the content producers on these channels that talk about these things don't have other great content. It's just I'm sick of hearing about that. Okay? I've moved on past worrying about new editions when 3rd edition came around. Okay? So I don't need to hear all of that anymore. It's just going to sour me on the hobby in general. It might be doing that to you too. It's certainly causing nothing but arguments and contentions and problems. Man, play the game you want to play, and who cares what Wizards of the Coast or anybody else has to say. You got your own books, you got your own stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that's free. Just get it and just play your game, and who cares, man? Let them go off and burn themselves out and fade away. That's fine. Okay? I just wanted to say that really quickly because it's bothering me, and I just wanted to get it off my chest, and I wanted to let you hear a little bit of what Mr. Kask has to say from way back in 76, that obviously that was still kind of a problem, even then, so it ain't nothing new, okay? All right, now, one other thing I want to talk to you about here in number 3 is some good stuff, something that I like. This article is by C. Hedelstad. I believe that's how they say their name, and it's on healers. This is a particular class, okay? Healers, as the name implies, are designed to allow rapid repair of other characters in large campaign games. Basically, the healer is a combination of magic user and cleric with a dash of fighter. However, the healer has a set of spells exclusive to himself, although many can be found elsewhere, and is not allowed to switch class at any time under his own decision. Basic prerequisites for a healer are high, a minimum of 15 in intelligence, wisdom, and dexterity. Further, they are restricted in that they can only be lawful or neutral. A chaotic healer is not allowed, and would become a mere fighter if forced to change alignment from allowable areas. Healers may not wear any armor or shield, but may use any weapon and or magical items. The various books to be found will not aid the healer in any way and can only hurt. There are certain special abilities conferred upon the healer at certain levels. So this is a class that goes from 1st to 25th level. At 4th level, you can detect molds, slimes, and etc. at 40 feet. At 8th level, you can determine types of potions. At 12th level, you can read magical and clerical scrolls. At 16th level, you can use 4 first-level magic user spells, and at 20th level, 4 second-level magic user spells. Okay? Experience points from 1st to 2nd are 5,000, and it goes up from there, and you use a D8 for hit dice. Okay, and on page 22 of this magazine is the start of this particular section. It's kind of a cool little class, and I'll just read off some of the spells that they get that are exclusive to them. First level would be Detect Magic, Evil, Poison, Disease, Invisible, or Phase. Those are all detect spells, 1 through 6 in number. And then second level, you have Neutralize Poison, Cure Disease, Purify Food and Water, Slow, Haste, and Invisibility. And at third level, you have Raise Dead, Cure Serious Wounds, Cure Blindness, ESP, Animate Dead, and Strength. Fourth level, Stone to Flesh, Mind Blank, Energy. That's an older spell that's detailed in here. Cure Lycanthropy, Wake Spell, again a different one, and Fly. Fifth level, Raise Dead Fully, Cure Insanity, Cure Paralysis, Longevity, Teleport, Size Control. Sixth level, Improved Cure Serious Wounds, Clone, Water Breathing, Talk to Plants, Speak with Animals, Speak with Monsters. And seventh level, Sterilize, Neutralize Gas, Blade Barrier, Remove Curse, Remove Charm, and Cure Deafness. So there are a significant number of spells in there that I don't know anything about, and so we're going to take a look at some of those. The first level spells, the only one I didn't see before was this one, Detect Phase. This is a spell to find secreted treasure hidden by out-of-phase equipment from spells or the like, and to find creatures that are out of phase. The duration is 6 turns. Okay. Then you have from fourth level, you have Energy. Use of this spell will restore 1 life level to a character who has lost one to a wraith or a similar happenstance. And Wake Spell. This spell will waken anyone put to sleep through various means. All right. Then you have fifth level, Raise Dead Fully. That's exactly as just Raise Dead, the newer clerical spell, as far as first edition, second edition, and basic are concerned. Cure Insanity, self-explanatory. Longevity reduces 10 game years from the game age of the character the spell is used upon. Note, this will counter the effect of aging caused by a staff of withering, ghost attack, etc. Size control, this spell will neutralize the effect of growth and shrinking potions or similar devices. So I'd like to see longevity and size control kind of come back into vogue, if you will, for first edition. And then second edition, and you can incorporate that into your games. But longevity would be nice because Wish Spell and Alter Reality, Haste, Potions of Speed, Weapons of Speed, sometimes if you run them that way, especially if they're a cursed item, will all age your character unnaturally, and it'd be nice to have this longevity spell. Also, it'd be nice to have the longevity spell so that you could create potions of longevity. I just think a spell tied to the creation is kind of a general good idea, and I find it a little difficult to wrap my mind around how magic users would create potions without the magical spell to be cast into it. I've never kind of intuited that over the years. Size control, again, that's good, especially if it's forced upon you. So then we talk about 7th level spell that I hadn't heard of, which was Sterilize. This spell will clean any room of any infection, mold, slime, or nasty creatures up to 5 hit die. Okay, so that's a good 7th level spell. Certainly a really good spell to use in a room. I would imagine that it would just simply wipe them out, which would be great. So if you had a 30 by 30 room, you would cleanse that room of any slimes or creatures like that in there up to 5 hit dice. You just wipe them out. Great spell, obviously, but it's 7th level, so imagine that. And then Remove Charm. This spell will remove or negate a charm placed upon a character once this spell is used upon him. The range is 3 inches. Okay, so I think that's a cool little class. I don't know how much of that you might necessarily incorporate in your basic or first edition, second edition advanced games, or if you're using Rule Cyclopedia, which is the Beck Me compilation by Alfred, how you might incorporate this into there, if at all, because there are druids and clerics and of course paladins that can do many similar things here, but there also are some cool spells in here that you could maybe research and add to your magic user, or maybe research and pray about in conjunction with your faith body, church, to where you could develop that as either a cleric or perhaps a druid with an archdruid or something in your region. So I think that would be a neat little addition to add to your game as far as that is concerned, and certainly add some cool flavor. But if you think this class is something that you might want to have as a party member, or have in your party maybe as an NPC, that might be a cool idea too. All right, we're going a little bit long today. And so I'm going to wrap it up right there. Again, always make sure your comments are G-rated in there. And if there's any combating in the comments about anything that I've said, I'll just delete those. Excuse me. I won't block you, but I'll just delete those kinds of things because I don't want to fuss back and forth. I just wanted to express my own opinion on those things and hope that maybe you have the same kind of an opinions of things that are going on out there. And I hope you like this coverage of Dragon Magazine number 3 today, and that you all do, as Gary Gygax says, as I repeat often on my channel, hey, prosper and good gaming. Thanks for watching. Y'all take care. Later.